For most of my life, I felt like I wasn't enough. There was always this voice in my head telling me that I had to do more, be more, show more. I thought that if I worked hard enough, if I achieved enough, or if I became the version of myself I thought everyone expected, then I would finally feel like I was good enough. The validation from others, whether it was from my family, friends, or even strangers, became the measure of my worth. When I was younger, I believed that being enough meant having everything in place. It meant getting the best grades, being the best friend, landing the dream job, and showing everyone that I had it all together. I chased the approval of others, desperately trying to be the version of myself I thought people wanted to see. I thought that success and recognition would fill the empty space I felt inside. I thought that if others saw me as good enough, then I would believe it too. But I quickly learned that no matter how much praise or attention I received from the outside, it never quite filled that void. The applause would fade, the compliments would lose their weight, and I would always find myself questioning, is this really it? Is this all I am? It wasn't until I hit 24 that I truly understood the lesson I needed to learn, that I had been chasing something external for validation when what I really needed was to validate myself. And that realization came at a time when no one was watching. At 22, I was caught up in the hustle. I was trying to prove myself to the world, to my family, my friends, my colleagues. I wanted to show them that I was capable, that I could handle it all, that I was enough. But somewhere along the way, I got lost in the noise of other people's expectations. I stopped listening to what I needed, and I started focusing solely on what I thought others wanted to see. I was always busy, always doing something, always going after the next goal. I thought I had to prove myself to everyone, and in doing so, I forgot to prove something to myself, that I was worthy just as I was, not for what I achieved, not for what I could give, but simply for being me. Then one day, I hit a wall. I realized that I was exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. I had been running on empty for so long that I didn't even know what enough felt like anymore. I'd spent so much time trying to be everything for everyone else that I forgot how to be there for myself. And in that moment, I decided I needed to stop. It was the first time I made a decision for myself without worrying about what others would think. I chose to slow down, to step away from the constant cycle of doing, achieving, and performing. I took a break. I let myself breathe. And in that silence, in that stillness, something amazing happened. I started to realize that I was enough, exactly as I was. It wasn't a grand dramatic revelation. It didn't come with a sudden flash of insight or some profound moment of clarity. It was more subtle than that. I started to notice little things, moments when I allowed myself to be present, when I was kind to myself instead of chasing perfection. I let myself rest without feeling guilty. I forgave myself for the mistakes I made, and I stopped measuring my worth against other people's successes. I realized that I didn't need to be perfect to be valuable. I didn't need to be constantly on to be worthy. I didn't need to impress anyone or prove myself to anyone to feel whole. I had always thought that being enough meant being something extraordinary in the eyes of others. But in that quiet space, I realized that it was the everyday, imperfect moments that made me enough. When no one was watching, I was able to see myself for who I truly was. Flaws, mistakes, and all. And for the first time in a long time, I accepted myself without feeling the need for anyone's approval. One of the most important things I've learned since then is that I get to define my worth. Not my job title, not how many likes I get on a photo, not the awards or accomplishments I collect. My worth comes from the person I am on the inside, the one who shows up for herself, who makes mistakes, who picks herself up after falling, and who keeps going even when the world around her isn't paying attention. I started doing things for myself, not for the validation of others. I started pursuing the things I loved without worrying about whether they would be impressive to anyone else. I took time to invest in my own growth, in my own well being, and in the things that brought me joy. And little by little, I began to feel a sense of peace and confidence that had been missing before. When I learned to be enough without needing external validation, I realized that I was freer than I had ever been. I wasn't chasing after someone else's idea of success or happiness. I was creating my own path based on what felt right for me. I wasn't afraid of failure anymore because I knew that it didn't take away from my worth. I didn't need to be perfect, I just needed to be present. I just needed to show up and be who I was, unapologetically. The most profound part of this journey was understanding that I didn't need anyone else to tell me I was enough. I didn't need constant praise or validation. I didn't need to be constantly achieving or doing more to prove my value. I was enough just by being me, in the quiet moments, when no one was watching, when no one was cheering, and when I had nothing to prove. At 24, I can finally say that I feel like I'm enough. Not because I've reached some ideal place of success or because I'm perfect, but because I have learned to accept myself, flaws and all. I've learned that my worth isn't tied to what I do or what others think of me. It's just inherent in who I am. And the most liberating thing about all of this, I don't need anyone else to see it. I know now, deep down, that I am enough, and that's all that matters.